Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing greatness in life and in business. Now, we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us. And we have a very special guest, a fellow Aussie, all the way from Melbourne, and I'm super grateful to have her on our show. Her name is Pauline Bernardo, is a business mindset coach with 20 plus years of experience. Take note, 20 plus years working with individuals in various capacities across small to large service-based businesses. She helps ambitious women turn their ideas into reality and maximize their potential to live their fullest life through self-mastery. Pauline, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Guys, I also did a podcast episode as well with Pauline, and it's a wonderful experience. You've got to check her out. But don't worry, we've got all the provided links and the show notes there for you so you can plug in right away. So, Pauline, please tell us who you are and what you do.
Where do I even start? Now, this is the golden question, right?
Right?
So, obviously, to start off, I'm a woman. Independent from a very young age, grew up with a single father, and really I wear a lot of different hats, just like many of your audience. I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, and I've shifted many times within my life and had found that, business is where it's at. That is really sort of my calling in terms of contribution. How do we create impact and income, and how do we help other people with that? And mindset is a huge part of it. It's a huge part of my journey, and that's why I'm a blend of the two. And yeah, so it's been a journey.
How did you get started? Was it more on mindset? Was it more on because you've attained a lot of business skill set along the way? How did you fuse that, and why is it more important than anything else?
It all started from the age of 7, where my heart got broken from my family. My parents got divorced. I was left to pretty much look after myself. I had obviously grew up with a single father, but it rocked my world when my mother left. She left a couple of times, one due to divorce and one due to death. So it's not a nice story to tell. So there's a lot of trauma from childhood and abandonment issues and neglect. And I found myself I wanted more. I knew that there was something that I wanted to do within my life. And it was something bigger than I ever knew myself. But I spent a lot of time just on the journey of exploration. I threw myself through school, did a lot of things to avoid feeling depression, to avoid feeling all the traumatic experiences that I went through as a child, and then got into a career in accounting, and it wasn't aligned to me. Although, I think it's a foundation and a stepping stone to a lot of things that I now know about. But I found myself feeling miserable and having a career crisis throughout that time as well. And so it led me to, I guess what you'd say is rock bottom, right? Of really the emotional trauma, not having dealt with that, the career crisis, and then really just looking at my identity, as also an Asian female, growing up in a Western society, figuring out how the hell am I going to even be a woman to start off with when I didn't even have a mother to look up to, and then just navigating life and finding ways to be self-empowered.
How did you do that? You're going through life, ups and downs, still finding your purpose, but how did you start to unpack that and realize the power of self-awareness? How did you go through that journey to realize, yeah, I'm good at this, not so much the confidence? How do you build your inner confidence and still keep going?
I think there was an inner knowing from a young age, and it was very much grounded within, I guess, the entrepreneurial spirit that I had, which was probably because of the upbringing that I had with my parents coming here with nothing as refugees, and becoming very, very successful within business. And obviously I was a part of their journey and started working from a young age of 11 years old, started helping out with the hospitality, running the businesses, serving the customers. So I've always had this service nature to me and this desire for more. And that when it came crashing down, which was at this one moment, and I always tell people this, I was 26 years old and I had gone a bit crazy and intense within my career. There was a moment where I felt like really burnt out, but I left work, went home, and I just remember sitting on the dining room table and I just started crying. And I just felt this overwhelming sensation of like, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I wasn't happy. And that's when I reached out to a friend and, she said to me, look, I think you need some outside support just to help you, make sense of things. And that's when I reached out to a life coach and, there was the right fit. So I signed on, didn't know what the hell was happening or what I was getting myself into. I was like, what is this? Like, am I actually broken or like, who am I? And that's it. It all started with that, figuring out self-care. And I think one of my first questions to the life coach was, I want to find my purpose. It's a huge question, right? And she didn't have the answer for me. And I thought I could go there and get answers and advice, but it wasn't actually like that at all. And so 7 months of going through coaching, and, lots of personal development books, going to seminars. I think at one stage I got inspired by Robert Kiyosaki because I went to some seminar about financial freedom and realized, holy crap, like you can actually, there's other ways as well to guess, living a fulfilled life and a life of impact. And I guess all of the combination of different trial and errors, different learnings, personal learnings and everything rolled up into another moment where I think one day I got fired from one of my jobs as well. And I was like, I think after so many attempts of changing jobs, changing careers, like lots of ups and downs, I was like, maybe I'm not good at this. Like I'm just not good at being an employee. And although it was great in terms of I sailed through the corporate world, through family businesses, and I was like, maybe what I was really after is just the exposure to how do people run their businesses successfully. And maybe that was the exploration. It wasn't meant to be long term. It was meant to be an experience at each particular role. And so that's why it's all come full circle in that whole package, and that I live and breathe, everything to do with personal growth. I'm a lifelong learner. And I can't even stop if I tried. Obviously everything is always intentional with me in terms of learning. Why am I watching Netflix? Like it's also a learning opportunity. So that's a big part of me. And I guess mindset became a big part of that. Eventually when I recognized that, everything is to do with our mind. It all starts within us. And I've been on the internal journey ever since.
When did you make that choice, a decision to say, this is what I wanted to do? Because obviously you said you're going through different jobs, accountancy, you've gone through the corporate ladders. And then when did you make that choice to say, I want to follow my passion? I think this is where I want to head. Like, when did that pivotal point happen in your life?
I think it was many incidences that led up to it. I just listened to that inner calling. There was something that was like, step by step. So if I take you back to when I was 26, when I was having an identity crisis and a career crisis, I actually reached out to a HR agency. They call them the career coach and all that. So I was like, there must be something else in all of these questionnaires and personality quizzes and all of these things. And it kept leading me to that I needed to work with people. And maybe that was the reason why accountancy wasn't really fulfilling me, because I was at my desk crunching numbers. Obviously, I was serving on a wider scale, translating numbers, communication. Like it's so money is so important, right? Like in terms of, how businesses run. But instead of that, I wanted to be more on the emotions side. Maybe it was part of my journey to figure myself out too, because I had blocked my emotions for so long. But I thought maybe there was something bigger than that. And I kept following. So I was like, okay, it's people. Okay. So moved into recruitment. So I was really front and center, helping people change jobs and all of those things. And it became quite like an emotional thing when it comes to career transitions, and then it rolls into like your relationships. How does that affect everything else within your life? And so I kept following. It's like, when people leave like breadcrumbs for ducks and stuff like that. It was just like one thing after another. I was like, okay, I'll follow this and see where it takes me. And as soon as it doesn't feel good, I change. And so there was lots of breadcrumbs, and eventually it led me to, like I mentioned before, I got fired, and I was like already at that stage looking at a psychology degree, and really reinventing my career. And then I was like, it's ridiculous that you spend 4 years trying to get a degree, and it's not guaranteed, because I already had a degree. It's not guaranteed that you're going to have the career that you want, let alone make the money that you want. I was like, there has to be a better way. And so that's when I figured out that the alternative was life coaching, and people were actually having certification courses for all of this stuff. So I was like, oh wow, like there's a whole industry. And perhaps that was the starting point of like really, taking the steps to learn, I started as a client, obviously, then I became the student, and then now I'm the teacher.
I think that's an amazing journey, and hearing from your story and where you were and where you are now, it's just phenomenal. I think every experience that you've taken, everything that you've gone through is actually your superpower, because there are people out there who probably experience the exact same thing. Could be different clothing, could be different scenarios, but the core of it is still the same, and you're able to help serve that. So what are the key learnings that you've learned over the years that now that you use your superpower to add value in the life of others?
One of the key focuses is on people, and it's of being of service. So whenever I think about, challenges or fear, I always think about how can I contribute so I can leave this world better than it was yesterday. And so that kind of energy allows me to show up, right? It allows me to show up where I need to be in front of whatever challenges that I need to do, because I just think it can't get worse. Like what is the worst that can happen? The worst that's happened for me has already happened. Like my mother took everything when she left. Imagine being a child and you get taken, your bank accounts, they take all of that. The jewelry, they take all of that, all your gifts, like nothing. And then I think at one stage when she was passing away, she did write a letter to me saying that, I wish I never had you. And I feel like but she was going through some mental health and her own illnesses. So I figured that maybe, I had worked out a way to forgive the situation. But I felt like it can't get worse, right? Like, when you get ripped, your love life is gone. Your career is a mess. It's just chaos. It's always chaos. And I was like, I've had enough. Like, I have to make something of myself. And I feel that all the experiences is what led me to life being for me versus happening to me. And it's become, I guess you could say, a spiritual journey, or maybe a trust in the unknown path.
And, through your bio and what you've been doing, I mean, like you're moving mountains and you're doing a phenomenally awesome job in terms of serving others and with your clients, podcasting. There's so many moving parts that you're actually doing, which is amazing. And one of the things that you do is you focus on women. And I like the quote about ambitious women turning ideas into reality. And so I know there are a lot of listeners who are also female, who are either stuck in a rut or wanting to turn, because I believe that, females and, aspiring ladies who want to make an impact into the world, there are a lot of them, but they're still stuck in ideation, but want to turn things into reality. And sometimes they could be stuck or held by fear. How does one ambitious woman or someone that's aspiring to be the best version that they can be, how do they unleash their mind mastery for success? Do they start with mindset first? Do they start with a skill set? Where's their starting ground to actually be fulfilled in what they really wanted to do, just like what you did.
I'm going to ask this one question, and that is, what is the kind of experience that I want to have? Right? And that is really, once you know that, the answer to that question, you know, how do you want to experience your life? What it is that you want to experience in this lifetime of yours? And it's different for everyone, but once you know the experience, you lead with that. So let's say like I want to I want to experience joy, right? But joy can happen in many ways. Some people find joy within their business. Some people find joy within their families. Some people find joy within their pets. You know, there's so many things, right? But it's more just having a big picture of like, you know, what is the life that you want to experience? Because that's going to, that energy or that knowing is going to carry you forward regardless of the obstacles that come up, because we know that obstacles are definitely going to come up, right? And I really believe in the life of duality in terms of there's always black and white. There's always, you know, light and dark. And there's always different polarities in what we're doing. And one of the things that I realized was maybe that even on my personal journey and even serving clients is that this society, we always are trying to be happy. There's this huge push and influence on like, you know, how do you be more happier, fulfilled and success and all of that stuff. And here's the thing is that that's kind of like rejecting the negative in a sense of like saying that it's no good, it's taboo, that you cannot experience chaos and all of the things, right? But I really believe that that gives us contrast, right? Because if I hadn't experienced all the things that I did, all the chaos, all the darkness and all the emotional crises and negative things within my life, how can I learn to appreciate what I have and be grateful, right? So I think having that in mind, the big picture really allows someone, let's say the challenge is showing up on camera in front of people that I don't know, or coming up on a stage, right, to talk about something that's really vulnerable or important to me. To overcome that is like, you know, what's the experience that you want to have, and also to give other people, because that's really where it comes, like that's really where you shift your focus and you can overcome anything.
100%, you can overcome anything. What would be one of the most challenges, thought patterns that, you know, females face, those who are aspiring women, right? Because then you coach them and, you know, you go through, you know, the inside out from the beginning till the end. But what are the most common challenges that they face that they can actually overcome?
Common challenges?
Yeah. Common challenges that they face, whether it's fear, whether it's self-worthiness. What are the things that people commonly face that they can actually overcome it?
Commonly what I see in the market is the fear, and also with clients as well, is always that it's the fear of the unknown, fear of failure, it's fear of success. There's all sorts of things to do with fear. There's also lack of confidence as well. So there's always a lot of talk about, you know, have I got imposter syndrome? Like when I'm trying something new career, new business, new relationship. So there's always going to be a next level for someone, right? And at that stage, they're always going to be like, do I jump, right? Do I jump even though I've got fear? Or it's really about the fear of judgment when it comes down to it. Because it's always like, you know, are we judging ourselves? Are we fearing that other people are judging us? Like, is it really failure? Because it's, you know, so that is really what I see as the number one in terms of anyone who's making some kind of transition. It's always the lack of confidence, but then it's also the fear.
What would be the steps for them to overcome that, knowing that they have these certain challenges that they're coming face with fears? What is the one simple tip or things that you've experienced that can overcome these type of fears that they face?
Examine your thoughts. It always comes back to that, because a lot of the times, you know, the brain is automatically thinking things, right? And a lot of the times it's like being on autopilot. So, you know, when you jump into a car, right? And like when you're first starting to learn, you're like trying to like do all the L plate and the P plate, following all the rules, trying to get all the processes and steps. And eventually it becomes automatic, right? So think about it in terms of like if you were a child and, you know, everything was all perfect and all that, and you were learning to walk and you were learning all the things about life and exploring and playing. But then eventually, something bad happens. You fall, someone says nasty things to you, there's embarrassment, shame, and all of the things, right? And that actually just goes straight into our subconscious mind. We don't even know about it. So it's like we're just driving on autopilot, and then all of these things are being replayed in the background, and we don't actually realize that the tape recorder is playing, right? And that tape recorder is playing every time we're in a new situation, in a situation of uncertainty. So it's like, I want to build my business, for example, and quit my job. So then, I'm a bit scared because I really don't know if it's the right thing for me, for example, right? And when you ask the question, like, what's stopping you, all this stuff, when you get to the core, it's something to do with their self-worth, something in the experience of like, I'm not good enough, or someone told me that I can't do this, right? There's some kind of limitation. And when that happens, that's when we need to really look at the thoughts that we're thinking, because are they really our thoughts, or if that's something that's been formed in the past because of our experience, right? Or maybe my dad said something to me when I was 9 years old, right? And that has stuck with me ever since, because when you're a child, things just go into your head. And as you're developing as well, we always hold on to the negative things, or the incidents is like 7 times more than the positive, right? So it's like it goes in, and then you don't even realize, it's like, someone's chucking junk food in your car, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, I've been driving around like all this time, and I didn't realize that this junk food was like holding me back and everything. But all this time I thought that I wasn't good enough for this, and I don't have the confidence to like drive to the next suburb for it. I'm just making things up. But it's kind of like that, and we need to really look at, what are the thoughts we're having, and uncover where is the junk food, and then throw that out, and that's where all the coaching and the support and the personal development therapies, all of that stuff, it's really taking someone on the journey of going within and looking at like what's going on within your car. Like if that's the example of your brain or your mind, right? What's going in within that? And can we change the movie, right? Can we throw the junk food out and put something else in there that's going to make you feel good? And then maybe we'll change the music, right? And then we'll change the movie, right? We'll change the movie, so it's no longer your dad saying something to you. It's like, what are you telling yourself now? And it's like, yes, I am worthy. I'm worthy of all my goals, and I want to create this. I've created this new vision, and that's giving me really good energy. And then learning to drive with that.
So cool. Oh man, I love it. Guys, yep. Whatever's in your junk, gotta take it out. That's
awesome. A good one.
I love it. That's a really cool analogy. Knowing that everyone has potential, and they can live their fullest, what would be the steps to unleash their mind mastery for success? And I know that that's one of your key strengths about mind mastery. What would that be? Yeah, well, the steps. Yeah, so everyone wants to live a fulfilling life. What would be the steps to actually unleash their mind mastery? Because, like we said before, like it all starts through the mind, right? And you said about painting a picture of what the future would look like. They want to be a success, but there are a lot of groundwork that needs to be covered, and that's through mastery, through the mind. So, what would be easiest steps to get them going to have this self mastery that you talk about?
I'm going to keep it real simple here. There are 4 steps. Yeah. So the first step is looking at your beliefs, right? About whatever it is that you're confronting. Obviously, looking at whatever it is that has made the beliefs come true. So who put the junk food within the car, right? Yeah. Secondly, that then goes into, because the beliefs create the thoughts, right? So then looking at, okay, what are the thoughts? And what people can do, right, is usually 2 things. And that is, number 1, meditation or any mindfulness practices where they're allowed to just get quiet within their mind. And that's when they can let whatever thoughts or things that were hiding in the car come up to the surface, right? So that's why, I guess, when you hear out there, that's stillness, getting quiet, being present, right? All of those things really helping someone to get quiet within their mind and really uncover like what are the thoughts that are coming up and can I observe them. So that's why meditation is so important. The second way is, if you don't really like doing those things, is journaling, is actually putting it out on paper. You know, you can put it on a computer, whatever it is, but you need to find a way to actually examine them first of all, because sometimes you don't really actually know what's going on inside. So you have to download it and like see what is actually going on. So once you uncover what it is that you're thinking about, then we have to create the feelings, right? So what is the new vision? Like, if you're not the old Gez, then who is the new Gez, right? Who do you want to become? And so then we look at, okay, so let's like work it. If this is the vision, how does it make you feel? Then it's all about the emotional factors, right? Do you feel excited? Like, what's the energy behind this new vision, right? And that's when you're able to, like, you know, like athletes, when they have to have that kind of vision, like when they step out onto the field, right? They're like, yes, I'm going to win this game and I'm going to feel like victory, right? It's going to feel so good within my body. And they take that energy into the game, right? So they do that. So when you operate with that kind of emotion, because us humans, we're all wired to be, you know, emotion driven, right? Everything is emotion. When you work with that kind of energy, the new feelings, the new vision, then you can act on that, right? So then when we feel like that way, we can go out on the field and we can play our best game, win or lose. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the beliefs. It's looking at the thoughts. It's creating the feelings that we want, right, for the future, and acting on it. Because it's through action that you actually get confident, right? People always like, how do I become confident at something? It's simple. You have to take the action, because if you don't go through it, you'll always just feel like I'm stuck, or you'll feel like I don't actually feel confident. But that's because you haven't actually done something about it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's the fourth step that you provided. It comes with such clarity. Because it's really simple. And I think a lot of people tend to make it really convoluted and really make it really difficult. And what you've just planned out and what you've just set out just now, you know, the beliefs, the thoughts, the feelings, and just acting upon it does give you that breakthrough, right? It gives you that self-mastery. And I like it, you know, as an athlete, it's that feeling of becoming a champion or getting an award, or, you know, achieving something that's kind of like, you work your ass off so hard and you're able to achieve it, and just going through that journey, which is powerful. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wanting to build, you know, self-mastery around this, 4 steps, simple: beliefs, your thoughts, the emotions that you want to create, and acting upon it. Oh, love it. This is so cool. So, Pauline, I ask this question to every guest that's on the show. What is your meaning of motivation without the hype, and how do you use motivation for your personal success?
Yeah, I love this question. Motivation without the hype, to me, means that you have this internal, I'm going to get this right. Give me 1 second. It's all about the inner drive. Yeah. It's the inner drive without the need for approval. Because sometimes...
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So
I
you
like
said
that.
without the
Yeah.
hype. So the hype to me is like the approval. It's like, let's shout it out to the world because we want other people to praise us. And we want to, you know, obviously you want people to be aware. That's super important. But if you're doing it for the praise, right, then you never really feel happy or fulfilled. Yeah. So it's like, if you have the inner drive, it's something that's personal for you, whatever it is that you want within your life. And you don't need anyone to approve of that dream or whatever it is that you want. It's just this inner being. It's this inner drive to go forward, right? So that's what it means to motivation without the hype. And you asked me about how do I use it?
Yeah, how do you use it for your personal success?
For me, it all comes back to, what is the purpose? Yeah, because, you know, Simon Sinek, lots of greats of the world, they always talk about your big why, right? Why is it so important? Well, everyone's like, the struggle is that maybe I don't have motivation to do something that, I know I should do. But it's more about coming back to why. What inspires you? Because and why is it so important? Because once you actually know the why, the motivation comes easily and it comes naturally. You don't really need to, obviously, let's just say, for example, right, let's just paint it out here, is that I'm not motivated to go and wash the dishes. Something simple, right? And then you go back to your why, and it's like, but why is it important that I go and wash the dishes? And it's actually because, well, if I don't wash the dishes, what are the consequences? Well, I'm going to have a dirty house. When I see it, it's going to make me quite annoyed, right? It's going to pile up. I'm not going to have dishes, and there's all these effects, right? So, but then all the good stuff is like, what happens if I wash the dishes? Well, I feel great because I don't come home and it's clean, and it just makes me feel good that everything's in order, right? And then we get dishes, available at any time if I stay on top of it. And so that's like a simple example of that's why knowing your why is really important. And motivation is really just motive plus action. If you break down the word, it's just what's the motive is your why and the action. You put the two together and that's motivation.
That's awesome. Guys, see, this is powerful because you break it down with such simplicity and it just knocks me on the head. And just this segment alone, we talk about the car, we talk about the 4 simple steps and about what motivation is. And I love those answers that you provided. It's just such fresher breath air. It's awesome. I love it. Pauline, thank you so much. It was awesome. Thank you for adding value into the community. It's life-changing. And, just this episode alone has brought a lot of tons of golden nuggets and insights that people can actually take on board and really change their life in taking action. So, guys, for more information and how you can get in touch with Pauline, look at our show notes. Got all the provided links there for you on the show notes, as well as our previous podcast episode together. It's really awesome. You got to follow her, connect with her. You have to connect with us. So after this episode, look at the show links and just get in touch with her right now. So if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high-value content in each and every episode. Now, if you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together, I say it again, together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational messages and episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.